Well, this really is for me what autumn fishing is about on the river. A misty morning, nice and early, no one on the river, just me and wildlife and some barbel waiting to be caught. Look at this for a river. It's the upper river on the Severn, and look at the snags on the far side. No one can fish on the far side. It's private over that side. No one can fish there. You can only fish this side, so nobody can interrupt my fishing. Those snags over there are going to be full of barbel with any sort of luck. And I've picked a swim just a little bit up the river, and I'm going to bait it up first before I set up and hopefully catch a few barbel. One of my favourite times of the day is having just put a bit of bait out into the swim and you're nice and comfortable, a couple of rods out. I'm fishing 2 rods in this swim. I don't always fish 2 rods, but this particular one, because it's such a long swim, you know, I can fish 1 across there and 1 way down. The reason I've picked this swim is quite simple, because of the snags on the far side, and if you find snags, you've found barbel, that's for a certainty. If you go down the river and you find a great big tree in the river with a bit of deeper water under it, then you've found a barbel, that's for sure. Barbel and chub, but barbel do love snags. This is a great piece of water. It's just north of Telford. It's the Rowley Angling Club, and I've fished it for a few years now, and the club have owned the water for something like about, I think, 80 odd years. And it's tremendous water. I've baited up, I've just stuck the bait out. One, I'm on a straight ledger, only because it's quite near to me and I didn't want the splash of a heavy feeder. And the other one's way down river, and I've just chucked a sort of something like a 2-ounce feeder with pellets and ground bait in, and I'm just sprinkling bait in nice and slow. At the moment I'm not getting any indications. I've had a couple of bangs from chub, but no indications from barbel. I don't think I've had any liners. Whether there's any in the swim, I don't know. They could be, but not moving, or they could be just further down the river and we're just waiting. But the nice thing about barbel is they're really, really greedy. And you know, if you can keep putting bait in, it isn't, you know, if you're going to catch one, it's only when. We're on. Here we go. We're on. Oh. I wouldn't say this is a monster fish, but it feels like a nice fish. I made the decision to go further down, and whether that's good, I don't know, because sometimes you chuck right down and you chuck into a shoal and you catch the fish, but you can scare them even farther down then. I like to fish above them and bring them up, if you like, and then catch at the head of the shoal. But this feels like a half-decent fish. We'll soon see. Ah, oh, there he is, look at this. Ooh, sound of the clutch. Ooh. Probably the best sounding fishing, isn't it? That clutch. Come on, my beauty. There you go. We'll go and land it, shall we? Look at that. The strength of these fish is incredible. You'd say, am I ready? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, there we go. Beauty. What a fish. That's what river fishing's all about. The take was unbelievable. Rod went right over. And I've been playing that fish for a couple of minutes. A fish that size, playing it for 2 minutes. 12-pound line, £1.75 rod. Can't have any better than that. Let's unhook it. Beautiful example of a barbel. Absolutely beautiful, look at that. Adapted for the raging water. Remember, some of this water in the winter is 10, 12, 14, 15 foot above normal level. Absolutely raging. You'd fall in, you'd be washed down there 100 yards in seconds, dead. This fish stops in there all winter, hugged on the bottom, not a problem at all, waiting for summer. In fact, to be honest, some of the best fishing you can have for this fish is when the river is raging, because when that river's coloured and it's pulled all the food from off the bank, the river is almost a food soup and the barbel feed like hell. Look at them, designed for this river. A beautiful creature. What I'm going to do here is, that fish has fought very, very well. You need to get in the water. You need to put him pointing upstream, getting him to recover, and don't just let him go, because he'll want to go. He's a strong fish, but if you let him out in that flow, he'll not be strong enough to go out in that flow. So keep him there for a few minutes. Even if he wants to go, let him just puff up. Look how he's designed for on the bottom. Look at his mouth there as well, see it? Those barbels, you see those barbels? That's what he can sense the bait with. He comes up, look at that, drops over, sucks it in, and gives you the fight of your life. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Look at that for a sight. Oh, out into the flow. What I'm going to show you now is the two methods that I would say I use most of the time on the big rivers. The first one is the open-ended feeder, and I would say I use this 80% of the time now on the big rivers when I'm trying to pull fish up. I'll show you a rig that I'll use under trees and close-in fishing, but most of the time when I'm fishing the big rivers, I tend to fish a long swim, and I'm tending to draw fish up from a long way away, and I can get big bags of fish. And this is the rig that I'll use and the method I'll use. It's a very, very simple rig, as it should be in fishing. No need to be complicated. First of all I've got there is a free running clip there, big ring so it runs freely, with a clip on there, a snap link that I can change the feeders for different sizes. I try to get away with as little as possible, and I'll show you how I do that instead of having to use great big heavy leads on these rivers. Feeder, I have these made for myself. Very, very strong feeders, and they have to be strong feeders. No good being brittle feeders on a river like the Severn, the Trent or the Thames. Powerful rivers, especially the Severn and the Trent, where you've got a lot of rocks and stones and gravel, which will knock the hell out of weak feeders, and you'll end up with more broke feeders in a day than actually lost. Next I've got a shock bead, a soft rubber shock bead. Then I've got a swivel. Always buy the best swivels, expensive swivels. Remember, a fish like a barbel will make sure that if you've got any weakness, and a cheap swivel is a weakness, then make sure that you've got a top class product all the way through the rig, and then a barbel which is going to find any weakness in it, he'll find it. So make sure there's no weaknesses. Then I've got 12-pound fluorocarbon. I found out over the last few years that fluorocarbon has given me a lot more bites than standard line. I use 12-pound. I don't come any less than 12-pound. People say to me, well, won't you come down in size, you know, 8-pound, 6-pound, 4-pound, so you can get a take? I'm not interested in getting a take on that. I'm only interested in a big fish taking 12-pound line. Then I know I'm going to land it. On 4-pound, 6-pound line, I'm giving the fish too much of a chance. I don't want it no chance. I want to land it. I'm not talking about the fish that get away. And then right at the end, a lot of the time now, I use a boilie. A lot of boilies now, top class boilies. I tend to use fish meal based boilies, strong smelling boilies. This is a Frankfurter smelling boilie that I use. I tend to use a lot smaller hooks than a lot of specimen hunters. I tend to use 10s, 12s and 14s for my boilies. I tend to use a 14 on a 10. I tend to use 12s on a 12 or a 14 millimeter boilie. Dead easily fitted on there. A knotless knot with a stop. Standard stuff, absolutely standard stuff. What I tend to do is I tend to fish the hair slightly longer when I'm fishing for barbel. Remember, a chub tends to pick the bait up. So if you have the boilie straight on the side of the hook like that, you will hook chub and you'll be spooking the barbel. If you use a longer hair, the chub will pull at it, give you raps and taps on the end of the rod, but you don't hook them. And that's generally what I'm trying to do. A barbel comes over them, sucks it in and hooks it. So you're actually, with a longer hair, fishing for barbel and not fishing for chub. What I'm going to show you now is how I block the feeder and put the pellets inside. Dead easy. I just plug the one end with ground bait, like so. Put some pellets in the centre and plug the other end, like so. Job done. Now that will go straight to the bottom. The ground bait will explode. Out come the pellets, feeding those small pellets round the boilie, attracting fish up. I like this method above the block end feeders, because block end feeders, a lot of the time with the holes, what actually happens is when you're casting out, pellets come out. When it hits the water, pellets come out. And on the way down, pellets come out. That can mean pellets are going all down the river, and most of them have come out the block end feeder before it actually hits the bottom. With this, none comes out on the cast, none comes out as it hits the water. It just hits the bottom, then the ground bait spills out, and the pellets are all on the bottom. Exactly where I know where the bait is, exactly where I'm feeding. That's where I want those barbel to come up the river to that spot. I don't want to be sending barbel down the river. So many people I hear on the river say, I had a barbel first cast and then for some reason I never had another fish. And I think a lot of the time what they've done is they've fed and the pellets are just taking them further and further and further and further down instead of bringing them up, so you're taking them off the front of that shoal. Okay, the other method is if I'm fishing a swim that's quite close, then what I'll tend to do, instead of have the big splash of a feeder, what I'll do is I'll use a lead. Very often, after I've fished the feeder a couple of hours and got a lot of feed into the swim, I'll revert back to this. And basically, it's exactly the same rig in every way. Sometimes I might put a pellet on there, long hair with a pellet on. Sometimes I might put a piece of pepperami on. But generally, I'll use a pellet or a boilie. Too many anglers take too many baits with them. Now, if you take sweet corn, luncheon meat, pellet, boilies, etc., and you're only fishing for 4, 5, 6 hours, you're not giving a bait a chance. And to be honest, if I'd got 2 baits to fish for barbel now, I'd use pellets and I use boilies. That's what I feed, that's what I catch on, and that's what I'm catching on today. So this one I'm showing a pellet, but if you notice what I've got there, instead of the feeder, exactly the same setup, I've got a lead. Now these leads, what I'll do sometimes with these lead to give a bit more attraction, is what I'll tend to do is I'll just get a piece of paste and I'll just put a piece of paste into the centre, like so. Just plug it with paste and that will give extra attraction. That'll just keep leaking off there down to the down to there. And what you can do, obviously, and it works really well, is either put it around the boilie or the pellet, and that's put a piece of paste around that's nice and soft. That will actually sort of dissolve very, very quickly and attract fish. So that goes in the swim, melts off, attracts the fish, and you've got a boilie or a pellet there waiting. Let's get them out. Okay, one of the biggest problems on big rivers is getting your ledger or your feeder to hold bottom. Most anglers, or a lot of anglers, will think if it's going down the river, you cast in and it keeps trundling down, you need to put on a heavier lead and a heavier lead and a heavier lead. And sometimes, even in low water conditions like this, I see people using 4, 5 and 6 ounces to hold bottom. There really is no need. What I tend to use a lot of times is what I call the bow method. So let me show you now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to cast out. Just watch what I do. As I cast out, I've chucked out. I feed it till it hits the bottom on a slack line, and now I'm letting the line out, and then I close the bail on and put it on like that. You noticed I haven't tightened up at all, and what will happen, the line will tighten up with the current. I didn't tighten up at all then, I've just put it on the rod rest so the line's slack and the line will tighten up on the bow. When the fish takes, it'll give you a take or it'll give you a drop back. But what's actually happening is that bow of line is acting like an elastic band against the current. And where I'm holding bottom with 1.5 ounces, some people wouldn't hold bottom with 3 ounces because they've cast down on a tight line, and as it goes down, it's tight, the river's hitting the line and it's trying to move it. So let it go down on a slack line, let some slack out so there's a bow, put it on the rod rest and let the river take the bow up. Perfecto. Every time I go to eat, I have a take, which is great. Oh, look at that. My life, did you see that one? That pulled round. Oh, look at this, look at this. Oh, this is pulling me string. And if you've got a fault in your line, fault in how you play them, whatever, then this is the fish to show you up. And if you get stuck in a tree, it'll show you up. Okay, you're in, you're mine. I've had enough now. Oh, you haven't though, but come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. That's the girl. There we go. Beauty, absolute beauty, look at that. These feelers at night or in coloured water are adapted to coming onto the bait. And that big mouth, look, that underslung mouth comes over, perfect for the hair rig. He just comes over, unlike the chub which picks the bait up, this doesn't pick the bait up, this comes over and sucks it like a carp. Boom, you got him, and then you lose your rod, then you lose your Mars bar, and then you put him back. Not very bad. Here we go. This is not a big fish, but when you consider that these fish that I've been having are sort of in between 6 and 8 pound. What other fish in the country would fight like this for the weight? Tremendous fish, tremendous. Come on, boy. It's gone.
Yeah, get that.
Here.
Strike.
No, just put the reel over. Okay. Just want to hold that one. Okay. Cheers, mate. This is 2 fish at a time, folks. Just as I landed that one, this one's taken. So we're going to have 2 fish in the net. Slide the net down over the top of it. That's it. Oh, come on. Look, there you go. Come on. Oh, look at this. Wow. Oh. Come on, come on. Oh, my life. Wow. I think that might be the best of the day, actually. Let's put the smaller one back, eh? And we'll weigh the bigger one. Well, there you go, folks. What an end to the day. This is 8 pound 5 ounces. Not the biggest barbel in the world, but an absolute beautiful fish. It just showed in the end, feeding properly, picking the right swim, right conditions, even though the conditions were hard, low and clear, and lots of anglers will say it's almost impossible to catch. It isn't. If you keep feeding and you keep at it, don't keep swapping baits, swapping tactics, just stick at it, keep trying to attract these fish. And as I've said all through the video, these are very, very greedy fish. And it isn't if, it's only when you're going to catch them. And we've even caught 2 at a time. Let's put this back. In fact, I think I'm going home. You've made my day. Let's put him back.